Hey everybody. In today's video, we're going to talk about the numerology of number one as it relates to your birth code or your birth numbers, your numerology natal chart, if we want to call it that. And this is a follow-up to a video that I did previously. I'll put the link below so that you can learn a little more about each of these three numbers that I'm going to tell you about. Yeah, so in numerology, as we've, talked about in the previous video, and, if you've done any research about numerology online, you know that numerology, we turn everything into numbers and add numbers up to get single digits because the numbers 1 through 9, and then including some two-digit numbers, 11, 22, that we call master numbers. With the exception of 11, 22, we try to add up. So if you have, like, say, the number 109, right, there's three digits. So you would break that up in numerology and add the numbers 1 plus 0 plus 9 to get a 10. And then you still want a single digit whenever we're calculating these numbers, again, with the exception of 11 and 22. And so you would add again. 10 is 1 plus 0, so that would be a 1. And actually, I didn't even plan that example, but today we're going to talk about the numerology of number 1. So without further ado, there are three numbers that we're going to focus on today. The first is the day of birth. So for those people born on the 1st, the 10th, the 19th, the 28th, those would all numerologically add up down to a number 1. So we're talking about the day of birth. And again, the day of birth is describes who you are at, like, your core level, your essence, who you are, how you instinctively operate in the world. So when we look at the number 1 as it relates to the day of birth, these people are very independent, very driven, very, like, they want people to know those things about them too. They can easily make, like, decisions, like they just fire off and make decisions like no problem. They're not indecisive. They very often have, like, these really original, like, ideas, and they have big goals. Like, they're those friends or people or family members that's like, I'm gonna create a whole new way of, doing making sandwiches, and the whole world's gonna know about it. That's kind of a crappy example, but I have friends that are like, that have a day of birth of 1, and they are always operating like that. They're always like, even if I bring, like, an idea of myself, like, oh, my business, I'm thinking about, doing this, offering this, like, immediately they'll scale it up and be like, oh my God, you could, like, take this, like, to all these companies, you could sell this. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So then those people that have, like, the big goals, they make decisions really easy. They're really good at multitasking. Likewise, there's light and shadow. So our true essence is made up of both. And it's really important to embrace all of those as well as be aware of them so that when we, have, say, our shadow side coming up, we know still how to operate to be effective in the world, and for ourselves. So some of the kind of, I guess, like, shadow characteristics of a person with a day of birth of 1, they can be kind of stubborn. They can be, like, kind of, prideful, like, really stand up for, like, what their ideas, but maybe take it just a little too far where it's, like, beyond reason. Sometimes they can lack sensitivity because they're so driven and they're so focused. Others that may not be coming along with them as fast as they'd like. That's just an example. They can lack some sensitivity there. Sometimes they can come off as, like, aggressive or, like, really, like, like, it's, again, like, that driven attitude. It just has to make sure that it's in balance. Yeah. So, and I do know a few day of birth 1 people, and, like, they don't take criticism very well because it's like they have this, like, one track mind. They're so focused, they're so driven. They're like, I don't have time to listen to anybody else. Again, there's always the light and the dark. It's important to embrace the whole of ourselves. So it's just a little bit about the day of birth. So the core, essence, the true essence. The next number is what we call the life purpose, or some people call it the life path number. This is calculated by the full date of birth. So you would add all the numbers up in the date of birth, the 2-digit month, the 2-digit day, the 4-digit year, add those up, break it down numerologically until you get a single digit. So those people with a life purpose number where their date of birth equals 1, again, they share those same qualities. The life purpose is like your reason for being here, why you reincarnated this time, what you came here to learn about yourself and express, what gifts you came in with. And also, because you're learning that, you're more apt to teach and show and lead by example for those gifts and things in the world. So it being independent, being very driven, expressing those original ideas, making decisions and being courageous and being brave. Those are all things you came to really overcome and embrace in this lifetime, as well as teach others. So if you have questions about what your purpose is and your date of birth, your life purpose number, your whole date of birth adds up to a 1, that should give you a very good idea of how that is in your life. And surely you've experienced a little, even if just a little taste of that in your life, and that it feels good. So that's a sign, listen to the heart there. You've likely experienced those qualities in yourself and seen how they affect the people around you and seeing how they help you better your life, being independent and, again, the shadow side, like embracing and being aware of that. So that's describing a lot of what your purpose is. And granted, if you'd like to know more specifically about, your life purpose and how that specifically, shows up in your life and what it may be specifically that you're called to do, that falls in kind of that energy, like being independent and original. And you can certainly book a session and we can talk about that specifically. So love to talk about this stuff, love to help people figure this out. So that is the life purpose number. So the third number is the birth name, and that number is called the destiny number. And it's just like what it sounds like, our destiny, like what we came here to like make and do in the world. And a lot of times that shows up as our career or our vocation. Those are a little different. Vocation doesn't necessarily mean it's your job, but it's what you're called to do. Like, some people have, a 9-to-5, but they're also artists. The artist part of them would be their vocation. And then they have their job, in their career, which you can still be artistic in your, 9-to-5 job. I'm not saying that, but they're a little different. So just as an example. So your birth name, you turn all the letters into numbers, add that up to get 1 digit. So people whose birth names add up to a 1 have, those qualities of, again, like if we could talk about career and how you create abundance and prosperity in your life, kind of like what just makes your heart beat fast and what makes your soul sing. And that would be, again, like being independent. So that would translate as like being self-employed or being an entrepreneur, some type of leader, like anything that lets you retain that independence, because you don't take orders very well as a number 1. With a destiny number 1, it's not easy for you to just like, take orders and, follow people. You have sometimes actually issues with authority that may show up as kind of a shadow side result of having destiny number 1. So that is, in summary, just a little bit about the number 1 birth code. And again, you can have a mixture, you can have a destiny number 1, you have life path 7, date of birth, 2. So there can be a mixture of these, but again, this is just all about the number 1. So if you have a number 1 in any of those 3 areas, the day of birth, the life purpose, which is the birth date, or your destiny, which is your birth name, you can kind of get an idea of what that would mean for you and how that would translate in your life. And if you're not currently feeling fulfilled and prosperous and abundant and happy and healthy and like you're following your soul's calling, then this can give you some insight to what that might be. Because again, surely this has shown up in your life and you felt those little nudges inside to take a certain path or make a certain choice. And that's all about, that's what numerology is here to help us with, is to figure out what vibration our soul sings at, essentially. So I hope you enjoyed just a little short video about the number one. Again, if you'd like more specifics, or you'd like some, specific interpretation of maybe your numerology chart, feel free to contact me via my website at briannacolombini.com. And you can also subscribe and leave a comment below. I'll be posting additional videos on the additional numbers and what they vibrate at and what they resonate with, and the qualities associated after this one. So enjoy. Thanks so much.